Hello and welcome to That's Football. It's our lunchtime daily transfer news on weekdays and lots to talk about. Martial potentially going to the World Cup. Harry Kane will be captain of England in the World Cup. Lots of transfer news, but we're going to start off with the big story that sort of came in last night and this morning. Unai Emery, PSG, ex-manager of Sevilla, will be Arsenal's new manager. This is the news. And I don't know what Arsenal fans think about it. I think interestingly, I think they're actually quite happy about it. As I say, Sevilla, he won three Europa Leagues in a row, went to PSG. Look, they didn't do very well in the Champions League. They spent 400 million on Mbappe and Neymar, and they didn't do very well in the Champions League. Of course, they were going to win the French League, and effectively he's been sacked by PSG. So, look, Arsenal, to be honest with you, when I look at it, I spoke about it last week when I thought it was going to be Arteta, and I actually thought from an Arsenal perspective, that is quite an exciting thing to do. I was quite surprised to see how many Arsenal fans didn't want Arteta. I think they wanted somebody established, but Arteta with a link to the club, that link to Pep Guardiola, that style of play, that understanding of the Premier League, a little bit of patience, and I think that could have been the way to go. Obviously, they've got more experience with Emery, and Arsenal fans obviously have the final say on this because it's their club, and they get, they don't necessarily get what they want. But if they'd prefer Emery, what am I to say? What are you to say if you don't support Arsenal? But I think Arteta would have been a good one. Emery, look, you know what? He is a typical Arsenal signing. He's probably Arsene Wenger Mark II. I think he'll get them playing decent football because they played decent football at Sevilla. They played okay football at PSG. He's not going to get anywhere near the budget he had at PSG. And effectively, I think he failed at PSG with that budget. They got nowhere near anything in the Champions League. And that was obviously quite a big problem for them. So a little bit of a phone call. Bit of transfer news. What is it? Probably will be, I'm only joking. So yeah, look, Arsenal, unknown summer ahead, exciting summer ahead. I think Arsenal fans will be happy with Unai Emery as their new manager. As somebody looking at it from a neutral perspective, I would say I think Arteta was probably more exciting. I did say last week as a United fan, when I look at what we did with Moyes and Van Gaal, I wish we took that risk. I wish we'd taken that risk of a Giggs or a Gary Neville, who would have been similar to Arteta, really. So I would, in hindsight, as a United fan, I wish we had done that. But Arsenal going a little bit more experienced. The interesting thing is they wanted Allegri. Allegri would have been very experienced and successful, winning doubles in Italy and doing well in the Champions League, whereas Emery is tarnished goods a bit with PSG. But he might do a quiet job there. Tell you what I think about Emery, though, when I look at managers around the world, I think Emery's that sort of manager where he's a bit of a loser. I know he's done well at Sevilla and they won Europa Leagues, but they never really got anywhere near the top four. He just has that air of being a bit of a Wenger, And but Arsenal are starting from a very low position, and as I said before, they do need to be patient. They really do need to be patient. Let's talk about Anthony Martial because there was a bit of an injury scare for the French squad in relation to Ousmane Dembele. The last game for Barcelona at the weekend took quite a hefty studs-up challenge. Many people thought he might be out of the World Cup. He has sprained his ankle. Obviously, Anthony Martial is on the standby list. It doesn't mean that Martial would go because I think Lacazette's on the standby list. There are other players on the standby list. So, but the feeling is that Dembele, with a bit of rest, should be okay. But you never know. Martial still could go to the World Cup. I think he should be going to the World Cup over Dembele anyway. Dembele's had a terrible season for Barcelona. Arguably the better player, but I don't necessarily think that it's right. But Deschamps is an idiot. And as I said yesterday, Nainggolan not going to the World Cup and Fellaini going to the World Cup. I mean, there's just some really poor managers out there at the moment. Chelsea have made Bayern Munich and Poland striker Robert Lewandowski their top summer target this summer. I've predicted this a few times on these shows that I think Chelsea are going to have a very big summer. Almost in awe of what Chelsea have done over the years in relation to transfers. They're very efficient, they're very quick, and they go out and get what they want. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lewandowski or even an Icardi ended up at Chelsea next season, because if they get a top striker, they'll be a top side again. And Morata's obviously flopped, but they'll go out and get a proper striker, and Chelsea are very efficient at that sort of thing. Probably get a new manager as well. Manchester United interest in Chelsea's Brazilian midfielder Willian, which we were talking about yesterday. That's been reported by Sky Sports. But apparently, according to the Metro, United have pulled out of a deal for Shakhtar the next midfielder, Fred, because of the £53 million price tag. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think Fred will be coming to Manchester, and I expect it to be Manchester United, because I think Jorginho of Napoli will go to Manchester City. And as we said yesterday, Fellaini's wanted by AC Milan. I think Fellaini would do very well in Serie A. Very well in Serie A. It's a lot slower. It's a lot more physical. And I think he'd do quite well there. Mahrez's move to the northwest will not be completed quickly because it is here to snag over agent fees, says the Leicester Mercury. Obviously, he's a Leicester player, so they may have connections to that. Manchester City still very interested in bringing Riyad Mahrez to the club. And if Pep Guardiola is right that he's only going to sign 2 players, that potentially would just be Riyad Mahrez and Jorginho, adding little bits to a very, very good team. Tottenham are one step closer to signing Ajax centre-back Matthijs de Ligt. The I-Division runners-up are on the brink of bringing in a replacement for the 18-year-old Dutch international, allowing de Ligt to move to London. That's been reported by Football.London. And that's very interesting because I was talking about this on the United Stand this morning on the Transfer Daily Show about Toby Alderweireld, who's 29 and a half in August. I don't know why I added the half on, but effectively Spurs moving off a player coming towards the end of his career for big money and bringing in another young player to develop. And that's sort of what United used to do, and it's what Pochettino does. And United have become this team that signs players coming towards the end of their career who are already developed. So Spurs doing good business there, I feel. They did it with Sanchez as well, didn't they? The centre-back, and that's worked out very, very well. Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp is targeting one of 2 English centre-backs this summer. Newcastle's Jamel Lascelles of Newcastle or Burnley's James Tarkowski. That's been reported in The Independent. And there is also talk of Jose Mourinho's chosen to promote Kieran McKenna from Manchester United's academy staff as the third of a trio of replacements for outgoing assistant manager Rui Faria, which is quite interesting as well. And talking about PSG, obviously Unai Emery looks like he will be Arsenal's next manager, formerly of PSG and Sevilla. Gianluca Buffon, the Juventus goalkeeper, looks like he'll be going to PSG. He's only just turned 40, and I think in a league like that, he can probably play there for another couple of years. It's a good move for Buffon. He didn't need to go to America or anything like that. I felt he had a couple of years left at the top as well. If City was in for Toby, they would have got him for a bargain price. So snaps. Fred and Fabinho would be perfect, says Samuel A. Could Pogba have a release clause in his contract, which was presented to City in the winter, says the Theatre of Dreams? That's an interesting theory, picking up on what we were talking about yesterday lunchtime about Paul Pogba potentially coming to an end. No Sandro news at the moment, and Pogba saving himself for the World Cup, says the Theatre of Dreams. What about Arsenal? I've joined now, says Annie. So Emery is looking like he's going to be your manager. Interestingly, I just want to say that Arsenal's indecisiveness in the boardroom coming home to roost again. Ian Wright was talking about this morning, the former Arsenal legend. It was Arteta, and everybody was reporting Arteta, and we were doing it as well. Look, I don't profess that we've got a source in at Arsenal, but a few people I know who do. They were saying Arteta's definitely going to be the manager. At the last minute, they've changed it to Emery, and I just wonder if they looked at the reaction to Arteta amongst the Arsenal fan base, and then realigned. Or Arteta maybe didn't fancy it himself, but something changed because it was going to be Arteta and now it's Emery. And to be honest with you, as a non-Arsenal fan, I'm quite happy with them having him. I don't see him coming in and breaking the mould of dominance of teams like City, of Chelsea and of United. I don't think he's a threat for that. I think Arsenal's first season, Arsenal's first season, no matter what happens, has to be about top 4. That's their ceiling this season. Anything above that is going to be miraculous, especially in relation to the squad that they've got and the reported money he's going to get. So Arsenal's absolute limit is 4th place next season, and if he gets that, it'll be a good season for him. But Arsenal fans need to readdress where they're at. Wenger won them big trophies. Wenger made them invincibles, and then he had 10 years too long. Arsenal fans need to also, not only have you got rid of Wenger, which was a good thing, you now need to forget what Wenger did in the good times because you're a million miles away from that, and a new manager is starting again from scratch, and it could take you many, many years to get anywhere near winning those big trophies again. And that's what Arsenal fans need to be realistic about. Anyway, that's your transfer lunchtime update. Remember to join Xander at 7:30 every night. He's doing a longer transfer show, interacting with you. 7:30 tonight for that on That's Football. So make sure you subscribe and get involved. We're getting really, really close to 30,000 subscribers. So if you are new, make sure you subscribe, bottom right hand corner, and get involved. This is the channel where you're going to get all your World Cup watch-alongs. This is the channel where you're going to get your twice daily transfer live shows. So get involved with That's Football. It is for everybody. Everybody's invited, and get involved in it. Thanks everyone for watching. Speak to you all soon.